Welcome back to the channel, Cherries fans, and thank you for joining us. So, of course, do remember to hit like, subscribe, the bell button as well. It helps this channel grow. But this weekend, we have the visit from Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United are a side like Burnley, who we beat last time out 2-0, on 13 points. They've had a torrid season. And at half time against Arsenal on the Monday night game, they were 5-0 down at half time. It's not been a happy season for the Blades, as it looks like they are heading back to the Championship at the first time of asking, unless a miracle happens. I'm sure we'll touch on that. But for our special guest for this show, we have the leading Sheffield United podcaster. And it is a pleasure to welcome from the Shoreham View, Jonny. Welcome back to the show, Jonny. How you doing, mate?
As well as can be expected for a Sheffield United fan right now. That's about as good as it gets.
Yes. I really do feel for you guys, because I'll tell you what, let's start off with some stats. So at the moment, this season, I believe you have conceded. Are we talking about? We're talking about 72 goals, aren't we?
Around that,
Premier League.
we're getting dangerously close to Swindon's record of 100.
Yes, yep. I was looking at Derby's records as well.
We've beat that. We've beat that one, but now we're looking at saying other records instead of that one.
It's not good reading, is it? It's not good reading at all. Of course, I had a look at the season previously as well. And what's crazy about this is, I'll tell you what, let's go back to last season, Jonny. You got promoted to the Premier League with 4 games remaining.
We did indeed.
And if I'm right in thinking, 11 points above Luton Town.
We were. I think Burnley got pretty comfortable at the top. Even though on paper, and I still say this now, if we didn't have as many injuries as we did, I still think, even missing and dying Berger, and even though they took Berger, I still think we're a better team.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. And we'll come on to the team in a bit. But, when you look at, you got promotion quite early. You had such a gap. And did you have confidence going into the Premier League?
You have that romantic confidence, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not so much like logical confidence, because last season was a strange one. See, I don't know if anybody other Blades felt the same or whether it was just me, but I wasn't that excited when we went up. And that's not because I wasn't excited about going up. It was the football we were playing. We seemed to drag us. It looked comfortable, but we seemed to drag ourselves up in certain games. And that's because we had players like Illiman and Dye who would drag you out of games where otherwise we didn't really look like scoring. You partnered in with like the likes of McBurney, who's a good championship striker. And it all worked. We had a good championship team that we could have built on. But the style of football wasn't that good. No disrespect to Paul Heckingbottom. I'm not going to say we went up despite him. I'm going to say that if we'd have had maybe a manager that was a bit more adventurous going forward, we could have gone up top. But we went up, so he did a good job. And then coming into this division, we had the reality check. We lost Illiman and Dye, lost Sander Berger. They're just absolute shit show of what's going on. And we're never going to be able to compete after that. And then you had injuries on top. Last season seems like a million miles away. And I wasn't even happy last season.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And when I look at it as well, and there's going to be a lot of people, pointing the fingers at certain, because I watched the game between yourselves and Arsenal, and I'll give you my honest opinion. It was as if in that first half, the first 45 minutes, the players weren't playing for the badge. It didn't look like they gave a toss. It looked like it was 4-0 after about 28 minutes, wasn't it?
It was. I think it was 23, 24 minutes. It was like 4-5-0, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Only conceded one in the second half. Yay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, as if I'd go as far to say the whole team's not playing for the badge or playing for the dressing room, etc. I just think the morale's on the floor. There are certain players that I like, Anil Ahmedhodzic or Anil Amitozic, as I call him. Last season, it looked at absolute standout. And after the Tottenham game, I'd say, when things weren't going our way and like morale was low, it didn't seem to have the mentality to just like keep going. It's like he'd given up. We've got other players back there. It's like a makeshift defense, if you will. And if they're getting tonked every week, the morale's low. The only one who gives it game in, game out is Jack Robinson, but he has limitations. George Baldock, another player, but he's been injured a lot. So I don't know if it's they're not playing for the shirt, not playing for the dressing room. I think the morale hits the floor because they're getting exposed every game of how bad they are, and they're just what they're supposed to do.
But I don't think it's a terrible squad. That you've got. You've got a manager now in Chris Wilder who got you to 9th in the Premier League. And look at the side that got you promotion. You know, those successive promotions from League One into the Championship, then the Championship into the Premier League got you to finish 9th.
Yeah.
And
the season after, we lost Dean Henderson on loan,
yeah.
vital part. Jack O'Connell, it cannot be understated. He's had to retire due to an injury from that second season. Yeah. We never brought anybody in to replace him, and Wilder had a set way of playing football, a very specialist way of playing football. And when you take away a vital piece, and now it's only one player, but the way we played depended on that overlapping centre back and somebody having the ability to cover and do this and do that. And we never replaced him, and it cost us. And obviously, what happened. Our reinforcements that season, our great signings at the All Hail the Prince brought in Ollie Burke, Ethan Ampadu, and I know Leeds fans seem to love him at the minute, but I still stand by the fact that kid is absolute dross. Saying that though, Kean Bryan and Ollie Burke scored the winners at Old Trafford, so every season has an anomaly. But it never got built on, and I don't think it has up to now. So like the squad that Wilder came up with, he had players, but we never reinvested in the depth. When we came to the Championship, we brought in improvements. We had the players from League One as backup. So George Baldock replaced Kieran Freeman. Love Kieran Freeman, but George Baldock was a step up. Came up to the Premier League, we got in Ollie McBurney, at least Mosaad, who was going through a big purple patch. That was a great thing. Yep. So we brought in players that improved on what we had and kept what we had. Since the Princess took sole control, we've never done that. We've never built on what we've had. We just said, oh, it's fine as it is. But it's also we can lose a player. You know what I mean? There's never been any build on that. So with Wilder now, I don't know what he's expected to do with the squad he's got. He had 3 centre halves he was pursuing. Didn't get any of them. So he ends up with Mason Holgate, who commits GBH on a player one of his first games. You know what I mean? So whilst, it's not great, and people are starting to, not me personally, people are starting to go, well, Wilder's lost it, he's done this. What is he supposed to do?
I think he's got the right idea. He's got the right idea. He's a manager that has done so well for Sheffield United. You know, he is a legend for driving the team, you know, into the Premier League the first time round when the team was on its knees, you know, in League One. You know, I remember, wasn't there a season where you was fighting with, and I believe it went to penalties, with Stevenage of all sides, wasn't it?
Yeovil. There was Yeovil.
Yeovil, yes, of course, Yeovil.
And then Swindon, the 5-5 game at their ground where they won 6-5 on aggregate or something daft like that. It was bad. The thing especially with Wilder now, he went to Borough after us, and he was loved there for that part of the season. Yeah. But that he got them from bottom of the table to flirting with the playoffs, I think it was, and they were all behind him. They loved it. And then the season after, the owner didn't really give him much, and he came out and he said he wasn't happy with that. So all fans turned on him. Now Carrick did the same when he came in. Same thing, pulled them from the bottom towards the playoffs. Everybody loved him. But then when he didn't get any investments, he did the very PR thing where he says, oh, I work what I've got, pleasantly. So they all still loved him. And since then, people question Wilder, but I don't really think he's had a fair crack at the whip. And to come back to, I didn't want him back this season because there's nothing he can do. There's nothing in this squad he can kind of make drastic changes with. If Wilder was ever going to come back in, I said I'd want it at the beginning of next season.
No, that makes sense. And Would you really have wanted to keep hold of Heckingbottom though? Because of course I've watched your videos. Your
No.
videos are fantastic, and you were adamant. I remember watching the Burnley game away,
Yeah.
and that
Last.
video, and yeah, it was dire,
It
absolutely
was.
dire. That performance from Sheffield United, and I think you couldn't carry on with Heckingbottom.
No, definitely
Even
not.
though he got the side promoted. But what would you have done in that interim?
Gigs it till end of season. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, I didn't want like a big Sam Allardyce or anything like that. I wouldn't have minded us trying to poach Plymouth's manager
Yeah,
on a short term deal. And if he did well, if he kept us up, you know what, give him a longer deal. If they thought he had something good about him, keep him for the championship, see how he does. But if not, it's a short-term deal. Cut losses at the end of it. He knew what he was walking into, and then bring in like a Chris Wilder, or then try and lure the Ipswich manager away. Let's start
yeah.
building for the future. But this season, we couldn't keep on with Heckingbottom. We had to gamble something. And when Wilder first came in, he was doing well, but then the injuries start to stack up. It's a mishmash team. He's losing players here and there. And in this, in this division, it can punish you. It doesn't like take its foot off your neck when things are going wrong. It just puts more pressure on it. And when you've got your two most experienced centre halves out, when you've got players that have come into the squad late on and it's not gelling, morale's on the floor, it's not going to get any better. People are just going to keep punishing you.
We had that earlier on in the season as well. Of course, Iriola couldn't buy a win. And it was only when Burnley turned up, was we able to get something. Because let's be honest, Burnley aren't particularly good themselves. They play some nice football, but at the same time, I don't think they don't seem to have that scoring intent. But they scored 5 against yourselves.
Oh, I think any team would have scored 5 against us that day. We were absolutely abysmal. No disrespect to Burnley. They had to beat what was in front of them. They did well. They showed no mercy. Brilliant play from them. Excellent from them. That'll be their best day of the season. I think with Burnley, the only thing they've got over us, and it's not really doing them much because they're still joint bottom on points, it's the goal difference. And that's because, one, they've kept their defence fit, so it's less mishmash. They're still getting battered most games, but they're letting less goals in because they've got a steadier squad at the back. And I do think they've invested well in cover where we haven't. But it's goal difference that separates us, not points. And that shows that the gap isn't as big as a lot of people think. Jamie Carragher was on Sky News the other night and get people on TalkSport saying, oh, they're the worst team in Premier League history. It's like, hang on, your mate Vincent Kompany's team's on the exact same points.
Yeah, I did a video about that actually. And I was seeing all the things going around after Derby's record. The other day somebody put out they're going to get beat 10-0, the first 10-0 defeat in the Premier League. I think that there is some promising shoots for both sides. Burnley, can control the game. To be honest, they were the better side against us. The
Yeah,
only difference is we could put it in the back of the net and they couldn't. For some reason, they kept Jay Rodriguez on the bench. For yourselves, I think that I think the morale is completely on the floor. And
definitely.
what I want to go on to, and we spoke a little bit about this just before we come on, but let's go on to the chairman, the owner, because everybody would dream of having a Saudi prince.
Not this one.
Newcastle were wetting themselves when they got theirs. You have got a Saudi prince, but what is wrong with him?
Newcastle got Prince Harry. We got Prince Andrew. That's probably the best way to sum it up.
Okay.
120th in the line. He's got more money than I'll ever have, but you know what I mean. In comparison to other Premier League owners, never mind other Saudi princes, he's a poor man.
Yeah.
And it's just one of them strange ones. Like you said, every club gets a Saudi prince, and we end up with the one that can't do anything. Fancies himself a fantasy football aficionado, this, that, and the other. Likes to push his propaganda out there. And I just don't buy it anymore. He tried to sell us 2 different con men. Luckily, the EFL wouldn't ratify it. Otherwise, we'd be in even deeper shit.
Yeah.
The guy's just... There has been things he's done in the past that I respect, but then he undoes it all. Illiman and Die, he didn't want to risk losing him for free. so he wouldn't hold him to his contract, so he sold him at the beginning of the season. Sander Berg, Paul Heckingbottom found out from his mate who works at Burnley by getting a photo of Sander at the training ground that he was gone. That's not how you run a football club. Things that have come out today, like we've sacked a scout and we're investing in a new training ground and this, that, and the other. And it's all distractions and this, that, and the other. It's all propaganda put out there. And I for one, some people defend him adamantly. Oh, best owner we've ever had. I'd like to see what metric they're basing that on. I just think that we're better off possibly moving in a different direction. Thank him for the good, acknowledge the bad, and just move on, both part companies.
But there was a couple of people as well. I was reading on Twitter earlier on, and take from Twitter what you see with a pinch of salt, that Wilder gets on so well with the Prince. And do you feel that, if the Prince was to leave the club, Wilder would go, or do you think Wilder would stick? How do you think this is all going to pan out? Because I think something needs to happen, doesn't it, really, next season?
He didn't get on with him particularly well the last time he was here, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
I think they've reconciled, fair play. They're adults. I'm always glad to see people reconcile and not carry a bitterness. I don't think he'd walk. He'd wait and see what the new owner did when they came in. If the new owner wanted to give him a chance, I reckon he would jump up and take it because he's a Sheffield United fan. I think that's the reason why he's come back and put maybe personal feelings to the side. And now they can get on. It's a strange because it's all ifs and buts at the moment. And I feel like the club, even though it's got an owner, he's looking to sell. Everything seems to be in transition and turmoil. We've got about 14 players running out of contract at the end of the season. No sign of them signing. And I wouldn't be too sad to see a lot of them go. But the ownership in itself, it seems to have, at times, the best intentions, but then no idea how to make them a reality. And it's worrying.
One of the players that's always stood out for me at Sheffield United, and of course, the last time you were in the Premier League, he was a big part of this, was Oliver Norwood.
Yeah.
And he was a big, big part of it. But he hasn't had much game time this season. And do you feel, because of course we've got a player like that, we've got Adam Smith, who's been here since the days of getting promoted out of the Championship, the whole of the first spell in the Premier League, going back to the Championship, and he's effectively vice captain now. How important do you think Norwood is moving forwards, considering his age?
I think that's why he's not getting the game time. He's still capable of picking out a great pass, but I think with the players he's got around him, he can't really. The players he had around him were perfect before. He had John Lundstrom, who was going through a purple patch. I still don't stand by the fact that I'm not a big John Lundstrom fan, but he did go through a purple patch. He did very well for us that season, going forward especially. We had Oliver Norwood picking out passes, and John Fleck is kind of like your pit bull in the middle. He had the perfect surroundings before he took over the Paul Coots role after he broke his leg in the Championship. And it was vital for us. But last season, especially, we started to notice that his legs were going a bit. A lot of his passes weren't quite hitting the mark where they were supposed to. And sometimes you think, oh, he's pivotal, he's great for us. And then in other games, he goes missing because all they have to do is stick a man on him and he's out of the game because he doesn't have somebody next to him with the outlet. So he gets isolated and it results in long balls. And I don't care how good you are, unless you're like a David Beckham or Ronaldo, not every long ball goes where you want it to. And you get found out that way.
It's such a shame because, of course, you had that great first season. It tailed off the second season in the Premier League. There's always this saying of second season syndrome. You did nearly go back up at the first time of asking, though, as well.
Yeah, we had Slav. He took us nice and surely to the bottom of the league. He just didn't get the club. We brought in Hecky, great turnaround. Some really good players. Morgan Gibbs-White obviously was at Forest at the moment, and we pushed it all the way. I don't think we would have been ready to go up. We'd have been in a worse position then than we are now, I think. But he did exceptionally well and nearly did it first time of asking, other than a penalty shootout, and that was a good turnaround. It gave you a bit of confidence. But the more you saw things at the club go the way they're going, the more that you saw the football that was being played. It wasn't the exciting football we've been spoilt with, if that makes sense. We had Nigel Adkins, who was less said the better. We brought Chris Wilder in. He brought the fans and the team back together, built a team, and we went on that amazing momentum ride upwards. And a mix of COVID, Abdullah taking full control. It fucked us. It just really did. And then obviously Jack O'Connell getting injured, bringing in Aaron Ramsdale. I still think that I don't know how Arsenal rate that man. I do not know. I know you guys love him as well.
Ooh, I'll tell you what, Johnny. I think Aaron Ramsdale should be England #1. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. I think he really is. I think he is susceptible to mistakes, but I think he's still got a lot to learn. But I think he's capable of being England #1. But then again, Arteta has shown that he doesn't rate him because he wouldn't have bought in David Raya from Brentford.
I think his mentality is absolutely dross, for one. His family don't help him on social media and stuff. That never, when they're arguing with like fans and managers and staff online, that never helps a player. But also, I just think that, I don't know, when you've got a defence in front here that's going to mean you're going to face a lot of shots, and you get found out a lot on certain things, like anything low to his ankle and it's going in the net. Great, very good at one-on-ones. Always rated him on that one. It's just little things that he just didn't seem to improve on that really wound me up. And then he went on strike for us. So I lost all respect for him.
Well, but wasn't he a Sheffield United fan beforehand?
Nah, he just came through the academy. Didn't make him a fan. He's an Aaron Ramsdale's an Aaron Ramsdale fan. Fair
enough. So yeah, to be honest, we thought he was excellent for ourselves, and we was disappointed when he left the club.
The one bit of respect I will give him is we never saw what he would have done without the defence we had the previous season.
Yeah.
And he had a lot more to contend with because it was so makeshift. I mean, Jack Robinson, we've got him in now. He was brought in as a backup left back. Never mind a backup left centre half for Jack O'Connell, where he played most of the season. And then Ethan Ampadu went there, and it disaster after disaster. So, in fairness to him, he did have a lot to deal with. But I do think before the injuries, before he went back to Man U and kind of ruined the momentum he had, Dean Henderson had a lot to deal with, and he did far better with that pressure, mentality-wise and ability-wise. And it's very shocking to me to see how Dean Henderson's, whether it was the injury he got when he was on Forest that's kind of messed him up in his momentum, whether it was his insistence at trying to force his way into the Man U team. I was very surprised to see how the momentum's changed after seeing both of them play for us.
Well, Ramsdale didn't do a very good job against Southampton, did he, really, for Arsenal last season? And
no.
I guess, it's a very, very good point. When you've got a quality defence in front of you and you're battling up the right end of the table, then you probably do shine as a goalkeeper more. Earlier on in the season, Neto was excellent for us last season. Made handfuls of mistakes this season, especially in that early part. So I can understand exactly where you're coming from.
Look at Pickford. He always does better for England than he does for Everton.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. So, Johnny, I'm sorry to tempt fate, but I think it's fair to say you're probably going back to the Championship.
Yeah. I've still got that romantic side of me that thinks, well, if we can just get to 20 points and then Forest get points deducted and Everton get points deducted, maybe we can stay up on a technicality. But I don't think it'll happen.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? But
after all we had to deal with the Tevez thing and then the Hawkeye, it'd be hilarious.
Yes, yeah, especially after the season you've gone through. To be honest, I can't see Burnley getting many more points. I think you could finish above them. You could.
My predictions at the beginning of the season to get relegated were Burnley, Everton, and Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that could still come true.
It could do. But let's be honest, if it doesn't come true,
Sheffield United, Burnley, and I would say either Forest or Luton.
Fair enough. But you go back into the Championship. What do you change? I guess you stick with Wilder. With regards to the team, what do you do? Because is the Prince going to give Wilder money to spend? Because
I don't say how we can't, because we're not going to have a squad. Got like 13 players, 14 players out of contract, all senior players. And it doesn't seem like any of them are getting offered a deal. So it's going to be a mixture of youth signings. I think that's why we signed a lot of the younger players, Ollie Arblaster, Andre Brooks, and a lot of them to longer term contracts, because I think they're going to be the basis of the squad, which is good in a way, but also worrying, because if he doesn't get money to bring in older heads, experience, it's going to be an under-23s team.
Yeah, no, very true. Very, very true. And, hopefully, fingers crossed, you can turn it round. Before we come on to predictions about this game, one thing I do want to cover is, one player who I really did rate when he was at Swansea. You know where I'm going with this, don't
I
you, Jonny?
do. I do.
Brewster. I think he has been an absolutely bloody terrible signing for Sheffield United.
I still think with Ryan Brewster, if you put him in a good team with good delivery, he'll get goals. Unfortunately, now it seems that his legs are made of paper mache. So he plays it like he played at Wolves the other day. Best game he's had for us in ages, since he was scoring goals at the beginning of the Championship last season and then got injured. The lad just can't catch a break. And I like him. He's a nice lad, really good lad. And I think he has got bags of ability, but unfortunately, it's just not working for him. And I do think that we're part of that, because we don't give him the delivery he needs.
Am I right in thinking, though, if you do go down, which it looks like it's pretty much going to happen, Ryan Brewster, with those right players around him, could turn his Sheffield United career around?
If he can stay fit and we can build a team that gives him good service, I still think Ryan Brewster can be a top-level Championship to mid-table Premier League striker. This is no disrespect to Dom Solanke. He always punishes us. As a player, I think pure ability-wise, Ryan Brewster has more ability than Dom Solanke. What Dom Solanke's got is he can stay fit, he's got an higher work ethic, and he's a big bugger, isn't he? He knows how to boss it around. But I think Brewster, on pure ability, could be at the level Solanke's at if he could stay fit and be in a team that would give him what he needs. Unfortunately, since he's come to the team, all he's really had is, let's just say, nothing special to work with.
Well, the other player as well that I wanted to bring up is a player who is with ourselves, who is really, really highly thought of by Sheffield United fans. Yeah. He's currently on loan at Southampton.
No.
I don't do you know what, Jonny? I don't understand it. He had an absolutely fantastic game against Swansea in the FA Cup. And the next thing, we're sending him to Southampton to help them.
You could have sent him to us.
I know. This is do you know what? This is the next part of the question. Firstly, what did you think of David Brooks? And secondly, if Andoni Iraola doesn't feel that David Brooks is up to Premier League standard at the moment, I think, and this is my honest opinion, I might get shot by some of our fans about this. I think that David Brooks has gone on loan to Southampton, not because he's not got the ability to play in the Premier League, but because his fitness isn't there after Hodgkin lymphoma.
Yeah, when we had him that first season, he was brilliant. He had that amazing debut against Pigs, 4-2. Obviously, we beat them. He were amazing that season. He went out with glandular fever. Obviously, we know now with obviously his health issues that probably hit him a lot harder than we realised.
Yeah.
He wasn't fit when he came back for quite a while, so I could get behind that. You forget that he's still not an old lad, is he? He's still a young lad, and coming back from an illness like that. So much game time out, the effect it has on your body. He could have all the ability he's got going out to a Championship team that's fighting for the top, and by all accounts, has still got a Premier League-ish squad. It'll do his fitness the world of good. I just wish he would have, been a bit braver and come here.
I think Brooksy, he has got bags of ability, absolutely bags of ability, Jonny. But I think it has taken so much out of him.
Yeah.
And he is so determined. I met him. shortly after, he got the all clear, and he looks completely different now to when he looked then. And it was sad to see him after, he'd got the all clear. Thank God,
Yeah,
firstly that
definitely.
he got that. But, was he ready to play any football at all? It was going to take a long, long road back. And that he's got to this point is miraculous.
Yeah.
But I wonder if next season, if Iriola, does say, look, Brooksy, you're going to have to go out on loan, would Sheffield United fans be turning round to the Prince and saying, get him in straight away?
If he went on loan to another Championship club and it wasn't us, I think we'd start, I don't know, protesting at the Saudi embassy.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
We love him. We absolutely love him. The best way to endear yourself to a Sheffield United fan, come on and absolutely tear the pigs a new one, including nutmegging one of their cult heroes and making them look absolutely. But because don't forget, they were flirting with the Premier League when we came up from League One, and they were going to win 4-5-0. They were going to tear us a new arsehole. Oh, they hadn't even got Billy Sharp. They're playing Leon Clark up front. Oh, he scored 2. And they've got a youngster in midfield. Who's ever heard of David Brooks? Well, they heard of him after. And it's absolute hero of a lad. And I was absolutely devastated to see him go, as you would be. At the time, we couldn't keep him. And I think if he went on loan to, say, I don't know, a Norwich or a Burnley or whoever else goes down with us, or like a Leeds, it'd break us hearts knowing that we ain't gone out and made that happen. It was similar with Tommy Doyle this year. We loved him. We liked McAtee, don't get me wrong, we love having McAtee here.
Yeah.
But Tommy Doyle was the one that had that connection with the fans. And the fact that we lost out on him broke a lot of hearts. And if it happened again with David Brooks, I don't even want to think about it.
There could be a bit of a war for the Saudi prince, let's say.
Shoes off in car park.
Do you know what? One thing that has just come to mind as well. If you do go down, which, like we say, is probably going to happen, do you want, and I'll use how you refer to them, the pigs, to stay up so you can batter them again?
No, want to go down. Bye-bye. Ta-da.
Fair enough.
Get back in League One. Never want to play you again. Never want to play you again, ever. I'd be happy to never play them again until I'm gone and dead in ground, because I hate Derby Day. Up until the fact, like, if you've won or a draw or anything, whatever, great. That horrible, disgusting build-up to the game where it's just nothing but nerves. And even if you're confident, it's just horrible. I could happily never play them again. Keep them down there where they belong, League One, lol. And we'll take it as we're the last team to ever win in a Steel City derby, because it's all been draws after that. That made me happy. I'll be fine with that.
Fair enough. We don't have that feeling because Southampton, they don't reciprocate it or anything like that, and it's a little bit too far away. And
Brighton have a fake rivalry with Palace.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the Steel City derby, it is blood thunder. You want to beat them every single time. If you don't beat them, it pisses you right off. It will ruin probably the whole month, not just the weekend.
We called the last time we beat them Bouncing Day, 1-4-2. They brought it to 2-2, and their fans were doing the weird bounce thing that now Derby and Forest doing. It's so bad, it's horrible. And then 30 seconds later, Duffy scores and stopped them bouncing. So we call it Bouncing Day. That's to take the mick, because I think they beat us 4-0 at their place on Boxing Day one year. And it's that bad. My dad came home and took Christmas tree and stuff down. This one. My dad, die-hard blade. Good. All my dad's side of family, die-hard blade. My mum's side of family is them.
How that can't go down well in the household, can it?
My mum don't like football anymore.
Oh, fair enough. Just stick him in League One. Let's be honest, Hillsborough's a shithole anyway, isn't it?
Oh, don't get me started. Oh, but it's bigger. Yeah, and it's also full of rust. No comparison. It's not even in Sheffield, it's South Barnsley.
Well, the last thing we've got to do, Jonny, is we've got to predict this game and how it's going to go. Now, 4 people already this season have predicted that Bournemouth were going to win. Are you going to be number 5, or are you going to be bold and go for a Blades victory at Dean Court?
Well, a few videos back, I don't know if it was just before we played somebody at the lake, I can't remember who it was. I made the predictions for all the remaining games.
Yeah.
And this is one of the ones I'd said we'd nick a 1-0 win. Because I was adamant we were going to make the greatest comeback of all comebacks. and so far, I've got 1 out of 5 right. And that was Luton. But we do seem to be better away from home against Wolves. A lot better. It seems to be at home where we're having all the nightmares. That being said, looking at what we've got available to us, looking at the results we've just had, do I still think we're going to nick a 1-0? See, I want to be bold now. I want to go for it. My heart's saying, right. Everything's saying 1-1 draw, but I'm going to be bold just so for entertainment value. Sheffield United are going to win 1-0.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to predict against Bournemouth. I'll go for a 2-1 win. I think it's going to be tighter than we realise. And the reason being is I think, to be honest, if I was Chris Wilder, I would have sent a rocket up those players' arses last week. Against Arsenal. That first half was atrocious. The second half,
that's the thing. That's the thing. Everybody's going, well, Newcastle and West Ham lost 5 and 6-0 to Arsenal. It's not that we lost by a big score to Arsenal.
Yeah.
It's that it was the 3rd league home game where we conceded 5 or more. And it's the fact that we were 4 or 5-0 down at half time. That's what we found unacceptable. If it had ended 5-0 and they'd got 2 late on or whatever, this, that, and the other, it'd been still bad, but you understand it more because it's Arsenal. But you're right. He has to give them a kick. He has to send a rocket up their arse. He has to tell them that they're all fighting for their contracts, etc., etc. Because otherwise, if that don't work, they shouldn't be here anyway.
And I think, that's you've hit the nail on the head. We've had situations, Everton away earlier on in the season. It wasn't that it was a 3-0 defeat to Everton. It was the manner of that defeat. It was Everton were shit themselves and we were just worse. At that point in time, how you're worse than Everton.
Were it 2-0 you beat us at Lane earlier in the season? Were it 3-0?
We won the 3-1
3-1 that way.
Season. Yeah, 3-1.
When I did the way shit video,
yes,
we were more pissed off in that game against you than we were with the 8-0 a few weeks before against Newcastle. That's not because it's Bournemouth. That's not the issue. We know that we're not Man U. It wasn't because it was Bournemouth. It's because we turned up and we didn't even put a foot in. We didn't. It looked like they just came and they went, fuck it. We're not playing today. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's the manner. Yeah. It's the manner. And that first half against Arsenal, the manner of it just seemed like there was a lack of giving a toss. And I think that probably just goes a lot deeper than the players, deeper than Wilder. It probably sits with the Prince. Yeah. Probably sits with the Prince. They're not going to like me in Saudi Arabia anymore, are they? But, it probably
I'm not planning on going, are you?
No, to be honest, it's not really on my holiday destination, Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, I think they'd have to take me kicking and screaming there, to be honest. But yeah, I think, unfortunately, it does look like it's going to end in relegation this season. But fingers crossed, hopefully, it all turns around next season. And would you like to become a yo-yo club?
No, it's not for me. It sounds daft. Yeah. Even if the miracle happened, Everton get another 10 points off, Forest get 10 points off, we managed to somehow get to 21 and stay up on last game. Even if all that happened, is he really going to make it any better next season, or have we got more of this horrible nightmare coming for us? I'd rather go to Championship, and if this is the strategy, I'd rather sack off every player that didn't give a toss this season. There's about out of the 14, probably about 3 or 4 I'd keep if we're in Championship, and then just start. I'd give Wilder the chance to rebuild like he did in League One, and then what I'd want is either a year to consolidate, maybe flirt with playoffs, and then go up and make a go of it under a new owner. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I would be adverse to being a Norwich or whatever and going up and down and building something, but I'd be happy just being a mid-table Premier League club at the minute, because at least then you've got stability.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to become down here. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, it continues for ourselves. But all it would take, one bad season, and we could
Yeah.
easily be back down. But Jonny, before you go, do tell everybody, because I tell you what, the Shoreham View, everybody, this is an absolutely fantastic channel.
Thank
You
you,
do
pal.
beer and breakfast as well, which is a great show, preview show. And then, of course, the vlogs afterwards as well. They haven't been very happy this season, but you do try and put a positive spin on them, don't you, really?
Do I?
Well, yeah, you try. It seems like, especially the Burnley one, the journey there, it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't know why we're doing this, but it was
broke
brilliant.
broke
Yeah, I
down on the
know.
way there. And then after the
Yeah.
game, was saying, we should have just fucking stayed on the country road. We should have just stayed. The basis for the vlogs was I was training. I wasn't happy in my job. I was working for a bank and then psyched it all in. Want to be a sports journalist? No, and it wasn't for me. Went to college, did that and the other. And I started the channel as just like a little video to put like all my journalism stuff up. And then I saw a football vlog and I thought, what is this? It was some little kid filming his feet, and like I can't remember who it was, so I'm not going to name any names.
Yeah.
And it was all cheery music and this, that, and the other. It was like one of the top 10 Premier League. I thought, this is awful. If I did my games on here with all my, oh, wait a minute. And they kind of built from I like to think it's a more honest look at what a football fan is and what other vloggers give you.
Yeah, most definitely. And everybody, go and subscribe to the Shoreham View. The link is in the description as well as in the title as well. But Jonny, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show again.
Cheers for having me.
Not a problem at all. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, Everton get deducted points, Forest get deducted points. You somehow go on this miraculous run, stay up, so we can do this all again next season. Otherwise, we'll just play each other in the FA Cup, and
yeah, we'll have a nice third round catch up. That'll be right, because we're not getting any further than that with squad we'll have next season. I'll tell you what, though, 3 wins and some points deductions, and it's all game on. Problem is, with our team, where are them 3 wins coming from? 1-0 at Bournemouth.
You never know. You never know. We could all be crying on Saturday down here, but
I think that'll just be me.
That would make it would be an interesting vlog, wouldn't it? But at the same time, be the most difficult to watch for us.
For you guys, maybe, because I would be in full. I don't think I'd be smarmy about it, because I quite like Bournemouth. I think I'd just be that happy that I'd be rubbing it in like all the other fans' faces. It's giving me grief all season. the Wrexhams.
Are you heading straight back up to Sheffield after the game, or?
That completely depends. I'm contemplating getting an hotel on the M1 somewhere, editing, and then just resting off the inevitable loss and just crying into a pillow warm.
Well, if you do win 1-0, I wouldn't be surprised if the Camel Bar in Bournemouth is overtaken by Sheffield United fans. The Camel Bar, it's the place in Bournemouth where everybody goes. Nobody knows what it looks like inside because everybody's too pissed when they go in there. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That would make some vlog. But yeah, hopefully.
We usually cut off after the game, but I think if we win, I think I'll just keep it on until I get home. That would be the best. saying that Blackpool last season, we had a weekend out of it, stayed in Blackpool. And I thought it was going to be really good. Didn't realise by the time I got to the match, because it was an evening game around New Year's, I was that pissed that the vlog was just ineligible. I couldn't even edit it. I'm looking like, I cannot put this out. We were in flares in Blackpool till 6 a.m. So if we win 1-0, you'll get the version of the Blackpool vlog that everybody should have
had. Well, let's hope we don't see it, but then again, you'll be wishing you do. So, Jonny, absolute pleasure to have you on, mate, and all the very, very best for the rest of the season. Let's just hope for that miraculous run to happen just after Saturday.
believe in miracles. For us on Saturday, for you guys after Saturday.
Definitely,
Thank
mate.
you for having me.
Not a problem at all, mate. And thank you everybody for joining us. Remember to hit the like, the subscribe, the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Please do also check out our previous videos. Had lots of interviews as well. Of course, we've had Peter Hooton from the farm, Damon Minchella from Ocean Colour Scene as well, plus lots and lots of player interviews as well. So do go check them all out. But until the next one, up the cherries, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for joining us.